Hey guys, what's up? It's Tarkon wearing a silly Santa hat, Mary, and all that kind of stuff. I got this hat, it was like $3 and it was marked down $1. So guess what? I manifested a deal on a Santa hat. Isn't that awesome? And I decided to wear it for all you guys today since it is Christmas. And why the hell not, right? Let's be goofy. Let's be silly. Screw it. All right, so I have a comment I'm going to answer from 𝗙់. Now I know I think I've answered one or more of your comments in the past, and I may have butchered your name then, and I may be butchering it now, but whatever. I'm sorry if I am butchering it now. If I butchered it then, I can't really remember, to be honest with you, but we'll just go with 𝗙់because it sounds cool anyway. So 𝗙់wrote to me a while back, actually, with this question. That's an interesting one. Can you elaborate on intuition versus everyone is you pushed out? Now, everyone is you pushed out. Of course, the idea here is that everyone is a reflection of you. But really what's going on with that is that everyone, the way in which they show up in your reality is a direct reflection of either you, a feeling you have about yourself, the world in general, expectations or beliefs that you have about yourself or the world in general. So in other words, there are infinite versions of people out there, okay? There are infinite versions of you out there. So you're plugging into versions of people as you're meeting them that correspond and reflect directly to your ideas about the world, about yourself, your expectations and your beliefs, your predominant expectations and beliefs, okay? So the idea is that if you change those predominant expectations and beliefs and those narratives, those stories you tell yourself, about the world, about life, then the way in which not just people in general, but specific people also show up in your life will change to match that, all right? That is pretty much what everyone is you pushed out means, okay? So let's continue with the question. For example, I meet a person for the first time, and upon meeting him, I felt something icky, oh boy, even though he hasn't done anything bad to me yet, you say. In other words, you're expecting him to do something bad. I mean, the word yet, and you may think it's not a big deal, but I try to read in between the lines with you guys here, okay? Because often we write things, we say things, and these beliefs run by default, right? These expectations that we have run by default in the background. We don't even notice them. One of the things I'm able to do as a coach and as somebody who does these videos, these kind of instructional videos, if you want to call them that, is that I'm able to look at what you're writing and your situation from a more objective point of view, right? I'm not so involved in it. I can kind of look at what you're doing there. So here's the thing, because you say, why is it, how is it my intuition versus me pushed out? Well, right there, you're already expecting that when you meet people that they have some kind of agenda against you, possibly, or that there's something is going to go wrong in the end, okay? You have a predominant belief going on there and that it's really just that simple word. If you pay more attention, just a little bit more attention to the words you use every day, all right? For instance, when you write or when you speak or when you just tell a story to somebody or something like that, if you learn to become a little bit more self-aware, you'll start to see where some of your predominant beliefs and expectations actually lie. So when I see the word, why do I feel icky about a person I just met, even though he hasn't done anything bad to me yet? That screams to me that in the back of your mind, somewhere subconsciously, you believe that he is going to do something bad to you. Maybe, and you use the word he, so I'm assuming this is about men, right? Maybe a particular man you're thinking of, or men in general. So maybe there's a belief you have about men in general, that they're going to hurt you, that something bad is going to happen to you, that's going to be, perpetrated against you by a man, or that he's going to disappoint you or cheat on you, or, if it's a romantic situation or anything like that. So, pay attention a little bit to these things because they'll give you huge clues. So in this sense, is it really intuition, or is it a pre-existing sort of fear or expectation that you have about a particular type of person that is then being projected back to you, okay, through that person's behavior? And you say not yet, but here's the thing, possibly you're manifesting situations where certain people are somehow hurting you or disappointing you or cheating you or tricking you or whatever it is that you're sort of concerned about that they might do to you. The obviously, I mean, I don't say obviously, but I believe that from what I'm reading here that it's possible that you are having that experience on a regular basis. So you have this sort of pre-existing condition, I don't want to call it, a pre-existing belief and expectation that people aren't to be trusted, okay? And so in terms of you pushed out, what that tends to signify also is that you have an issue with trusting yourself, okay? So it could be your belief and your sort of idea about other people out there, but that also ultimately, if you dig a little bit deeper, stems from beliefs you have about yourself, okay? So maybe there's something you haven't forgiven yourself for in the past, or there's something you feel guilty about. Whether that's justified or not, that's kind of irrelevant, I think, to the discussion, but there is some kind of guilt you maybe feel. There's something you feel about yourself. Well, maybe you think you have a fear about coming off as icky or distrust or untrustworthy or creepy or this or that, okay? So understand that, let's say whatever we think about people, all right, people and situations in our lives, but especially people, whether we're loving them for something or criticizing or judging them for something, that's something that we're loving or judging about ourselves deep down inside. If we tend to make fun of fat people all the time for being fat, there's a fear that we have that either we are fat or we have a fear that we're going to become fat, okay? So we criticize other people. In other words, we're always projecting that outward, and then that gets reflected back on us. And that is what everyone is you pushed out really is, okay? If you're worried about people, I don't know, being, being dishonest, right? There's something about you that you feel is dishonest, or that you are afraid that you might come off as dishonest. If you're criticizing people for being creepy, maybe there's something about yourself that you feel is kind of creepy and that you try to tamp down. And since it's common for our minds to want to always influence and change the external reality, because we're not raised with the understanding that it's life and experience moves from the inside out and not from the outside in. In other words, life and people don't happen to us, they happen through us, right? That we think we need to always change other people's behavior so that we can feel good about ourselves. So we can feel safer, better, happier, more confident. And that's the trap that we always fall into. And that's why we have so much trouble oftentimes with this manifesting stuff, okay? So it really comes down to understanding, yes, everyone is you pushed out, all right? So, and another thing I want to say about this too, because we haven't really spoken about this much. I haven't spoken about this too much on the channel, I don't think, and I might want to do another video. I think I did a video about this like maybe 2 years ago or a year and a half ago or something, but I want to do another one soon, and it's about your emotional guidance system. And this is something that gets ignored so much, because here's the thing, okay? If your inner being is constantly communicating with you, all right, and it's always offering you guidance in response to the thoughts you're having, in response to the feelings that you're having, in response to the things that you're saying, okay? If you're sort of saying a lot of negative things about yourself, you feel badly. The thing about it is that feeling badly in response to either those negative thoughts you're having about yourself, or the negative self-talk, or just things you're saying, you're deprecating yourself or putting yourself down in some kind of way, you feel badly because that's your inner being telling you it does not agree with your assessment of yourself in that moment. It doesn't agree with your assessment of a situation in that moment. So there's one thing that you can say about this. You always recognize when you have a fear about something, when you're kind of barking up the wrong tree about something or somebody, being very harsh, very judgmental, overly concerned or worried about a situation or a person where it isn't warranted. You feel fear or sadness or desperation or frustration or anger. That is your inner being communicating with you directly, because that is the way it can really communicate with you most effectively, okay? Is to tell you, hey, we don't agree with your assessment about this situation. So very often, we confuse what we call intuition, right, with something that is sort of, I don't know, I don't really know how society would term intuition, something biological or something that has to do with some survival factor, okay? But really, I think, and in terms of this emotional guidance thing, system, is that basically, if you're feeling somebody is creepy and then feeling kind of badly about that thought or feeling some kind of fear, oftentimes what we call intuition are really just strong emotions that we're having in response to a certain thought, and that, or a certain thing we're saying, or a certain belief or expectation we have about somebody or something, where your inner being is going, no, we don't think that guy's creepy at all, okay? Or it sees that you are somehow projecting your own fear of your own potential creepiness onto somebody else, and your inner being is communicating to you that you shouldn't think of yourself that way either, okay? So consider that it's really kind of the same thing, all right? Intuition and you pushed out is really, I wouldn't look at them as necessarily different. You have this tendency, we all have this ability to create our own reality. And what that means is that we attract to us those versions of reality and those versions of those people that correspond to our current predominant beliefs and expectations. And therefore, if we don't change those beliefs and expectations first, and usually that has to do with beliefs and expectations that we have about ourselves, not so much other people, we just use other people as sounding boards for that. We just use other people as expressions of that, okay? But really, if you're thinking something about somebody, and if it's judgmental, or even if it's a love thing, if you love them, there's something you love about yourself, or there's something you want to love about yourself, but you're using another person as a tool, as a means, as a way to express that in yourself, okay? So consider that it is always everyone is you pushed out, and situations also are always you pushed out, okay? And your intuition is more often than not, and most of the time, and possibly I could argue even all the time, nothing more than a direct communication from your inner being, letting you know whether you're moving in the direction of what you want, in the direction of being more in alignment with yourself, okay, or away from that, right? So that is kind of, it acts as your compass and as your GPS point. I'm going to do another video that dives more in depth into that, because understanding this guidance system that we have is I think one of the most powerful tools. It's one of the most powerful tools that we've been given, or that we take with us from the non-physical into the physical as a means to guide us always along our path, okay? So, you know, we talk about signs and numbers and things like that, but really none of that will matter once you really learn to master reading your emotions and what they mean, and looking at them in terms of what they're communicating to you about what you're thinking and saying in that moment about yourself most of the time, but also about other people. Okay, so 𝗬𝗧, I hope that answers your question. I hope that wasn't too long-winded. I'm mixing up the shorter videos with the longer videos, and there'll be shorter videos on more sort of technique-based stuff. But you know, when it comes to answering your guys' comments and questions, I'll still dive a little bit more deeply into it. Okay, so please keep those coming. All right, so manifestation.lab@gmail.com. If you have a question that you might want to have considered for a video in the future, please let me know, or just leave questions in the comments. If you have longer questions, you can just email them to me there. If you're interested in coaching, however, you know, if you get coaching, you always get my attention. But then you can find that also at manifestationlab.com/services. All that stuff is down below in the description box. You can leave me a tip down there as well. And you can also please hit like and subscribe and share this video if you do enjoy it and if you find it valuable. Okay, so thank you very much. Everyone have a happy holiday season, happy holiday if you're celebrating it, and even if you're not celebrating Christmas out there, enjoy the day anyway. All right, make of it what you will and what you want, because you have that power. All right, guys, so until next time, I'm 𝗙Con. Happy manifesting.